Swipe the card, feel the buzz, snap that mirror selfie. Classic luxury ritual. A Louis Vuitton Speedy on your wrist whispers, "I've made it." For that whisper, you'll happily fork over $3,000. But what if I told you the very bag in your hand cost about the price of a fast food combo, roughly $15 to produce? Not in a sun-drenched French atelier with clerestory windows and opera music, but in a cavernous coastal Chinese factory buzzing like a beehive. One bored worker's 30-second phone clip didn't just spoil the fairy tale of European craftsmanship, it cracked open a whole industry's gilded facade. Yet the real shock isn't where these bags are stitched. It's how a century-old marketing spell convinced the planet to pay a used car price for a purse, and how brittle that spell becomes once we stop believing. It was late on a Tuesday when routine met revolt. A line worker propped her phone against a spool of thread, tapped record, and captured luxury's unvarnished origin story. Under migraine-white fluorescent tubes, she measured, cut, stitched, heat-stamped, edge-painted, buffed, and boxed a Louis Vuitton handbag, start to finish in under 10 minutes. No chandeliers, no French artisans in linen aprons. Just conveyor belts, the smell of solvent, and the rhythmic hiss of pneumatic presses. The footage hit TikTok like a grenade. Within 12 hours, it racked up millions of views. By the next dawn, the app drowned in copycat clips. Coach wallets, Prada totes, even Hermes's Sainted Birkin, all assembled beneath the same neon glare. Comment sections detonated. "I paid what for that? And guess the emperor really has no clothes." The secret was out, and the internet was foaming for more. Here's where the magic trick gets slippery. Nearly finished bags leave China, catch a red-eye to Italy or France, spend maybe an hour in a finishing workshop, tighten a rivet, loop a handle, flick a lint roller, and abracadabra. They qualify for a Made in Italy or Made in France stamp. European customs law says a product's origin can be claimed if the last substantial transformation occurs there. Luxury houses interpret substantial like a contortionist. Often one decorative stitch suffices. Independent auditors estimate over 80% of the world's European luxury leather goods follow that exact flight path. For decades, we weren't buying artisanal excellence. We were buying a passport stamp gilded with French vowels. And because the brands wrapped that stamp in marble flagships, champagne shopping appointments, and butter-soft dust bags, we never thought to tug at the thread. Factory insiders, anonymous because NDAs bite harder than pit bulls, say building a Louis Vuitton Speedy costs $12 to $20 in materials and labor. Leather offcuts purchased by the ton, brass hardware contracted by the pallet, wages paid by the piece. Add a couple bucks for freight and import duty, and each bag still lands under $30 delivered. The rest of the price? Marble-floored boutiques in Soho, seasonal runway spectacles along the Seine, full-page Vogue spreads, influencer giftings that aren't gifts at all, and costliest of all, the aura of exclusivity that turns canvas into currency. Strip away the monogram, and the margin looks less like craftsmanship, more like daylight robbery printed in brown and gold. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. Many of those same plants making authentic LV merchandise moonlight after dark. Day shift, genuine purchase orders bound for Paris. Night shift, unbranded twins rolling down the identical belts. Same calfskin, same bonded thread, same edge paint. Sold online for 1/10 of the boutique price. Customers call them one-to-one dupes. Even professional appraisers need microscopes to spot differences. Some never do. If a $200 twin is indistinguishable from a $3,000 grail, save for a foil-stamped logo, who exactly is counterfeiting whom? The factory that produced both, or the luxury house charging 1,500% more for a postage stamp emblem? Louis Vuitton's response felt straight from the crisis PR playbook, a glossy Instagram reel of French artisans slicing leather with surgical reverence in a spotless, sun-kissed workshop. Viewers weren't fooled. Eagle-eyed commenters noticed brand new tools, shaky hand placement, and the odd camera op catching a boom mic in the reflection. The set looked more Netflix than Normandy. When the facade cracked further, LV lunged into litigation, suing several Chinese partners for industrial betrayal and trade secret leaks. Hermès, usually impervious in its ivory tower, found Birkin bodies in Chinese factories surfacing online and tasted scandal for the first time in decades. PR teams blasted statements about unwavering dedication to craftsmanship, but the internet sniff test detected pure panic. While outrage simmered, Louis Vuitton quietly nudged every price tag another 3 to 6%. Overnight, no press release, no newsletter, no polite "pardon our increase." Loyal shoppers walked into boutiques expecting last week's price, only to be ambushed at the register. Ironically, the brand had pulled the same stunt during COVID lockdowns, citing supply chain turbulence. Hermès at least issued a memo before raising prices by nearly 10% earlier this year. LV's stealth hike looked less like a necessity, more like a stress test to see how much loyalty remained to milk. Then came January 24, 2025, Luxury's Black Friday. At 9:31 a.m., the markets opened. By closing bell LVMH, Louis Vuitton's parent empire had shed $9 billion in market value. Analysts cited viral leaks, a Gen Z boycott, and mounting distrust among millennial buyers who prize transparency over monograms. Whisper networks claimed Bernard Arnault, the 76-year-old titan who once vowed he'd steer LVMH until at least 85, might step down early. Meanwhile, boutique managers from Paris to New York reported ghost town afternoons, rooms echoing with the absence of cue tape and sparkling water. Without the story behind the label, a logo suddenly felt like a hollow brass plate. History says luxury begins where necessity ends. Rare materials, painstaking skill, cultural legacy. But in 2025, the same craftsman hides and stitches can birth a $90 unbranded twin so convincing that only lab equipment can convict it. So what exactly are we paying for? Quality or an orchestrated fantasy? Some consumers will always crave the status hit. For them, the logo's social currency outweighs any moral queasiness. Others, newly awakened, feel sucker punched. If that second camp keeps swelling, the luxury ecosystem could unravel. Not with a Hollywood explosion, but via a slow drain as faith evaporates. Prestige only prints money as long as belief keeps ink in the press. Luxury branding is equal parts craftsmanship and psychology. Scarcity triggers desire. Heritage sells stability. A famous monogram telegraphs membership in an invisible club. Remove the aura, and what remains is a commodity. Stitched cowhide, brass zippers, a line item cost sheet. Behavioral economists call this symbolic premium, the extra you'll pay for what a product means rather than what it is. Once that meaning erodes, say when YouTube exposés reveal your pricey tote was stitched 90 feet from a replica clone, the symbolic premium implodes too. Brands know this, which is why their first instinct is lawsuit, not confession. Sneaker startup Allbirds publishes its carbon footprint. Niche bag maker Linger discloses factory addresses and unit costs. These young labels court the consumer the heritage houses ignored, the one who'd rather brag about knowing the supply chain than flashing a logo. Each scandal-ridden headline that dents LV's armor is free advertising for transparent competitors. If the giants don't pivot, they'll watch newcomers eat the space between honesty and aspiration. We stand at a crossroads with two futures in frame. In the first, consumers shrug, decide the logo's worth any lie, and the luxury titans soldier on. Prices rising, secrets buried deeper, marble showrooms glittering through the outrage. In the second future, a generation that values authenticity over embroidery walks away, forcing brands to earn their premiums with genuine rarity and measurable craft, not smoke and mirrors passports. So, knowing the truth behind that coveted LV monogram, does it still sparkle, or has the shine dulled for you forever? Drop your thoughts below. I read every single comment. And smash subscribe because next week's deep dive makes this look tame. Remember, sometimes the steepest price in fashion isn't on the tag. It's the truth we agree to ignore.